Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Westworld Season 1 Thoughts video. I just finished rewatching the first season of Westworld in anticipation of the third season premiering later this month, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on it. I will be getting into some spoilers, but I'll try to avoid anything. No, that's not true. It's really hard not to spoil this show. But yeah, so I just finished rewatching it. Normally I make a thoughts video once I've watched a thing for the first time, but the first season of Westworld came out a few years ago, and at the time I was watching it week to week, and I haven't actually rewatched the full season since, and at that point I wasn't making YouTube videos of sharing my thoughts on them, so I thought it was a good opportunity to rewatch the first season and see all the things I missed, because I know I missed a whole lot, and I definitely did, and then just kind of be able to refresh my memory leading up to the third season, like I said. So I really love Westworld. I was kind of immediately hooked as soon as I watched the first episode. The first couple trailers did have me really intrigued, but as soon as I watched the pilot episode of it, it had me immediately hooked. I have never seen the movie that is based off, and I think that's based off a book. I'm not sure, but so the show was my introduction to this world and to this concept of going to this Western theme park where they've got robots that you can kill and do all terrible things to while you're on vacation. And so just the premise behind this was just really great. I remember thinking at the time that like how suiting it, or how kind of suitable it was, or no, that's not the right word, or kind of how fitting it was, I should say, for HBO. It gave me very, I don't want to say Game of Thrones vibes, but certain things like the violence, the killing, the sex and nudity stuff, all of those the kind of primal elements you maybe can reduce some of it down to. So I did see some of the parallels, I guess, between like how this could appeal to certain members of the HBO audience, and definitely really appealed to me, even more so than Game of Thrones. I love this show more than Game of Thrones. Not that Game of Thrones is bad, I just prefer Westworld because I love the concepts of it. I like this idea of exploring consciousness, the idea of consciousness, what makes life, what is life, what is exactly, like all those different ideas around it, the idea of consciousness, of thought, of creating life via creating artificial life, and is that a real form of life, and etc. So I just really love the concepts that kind of go into just the premise behind this, and then the ones that they explore throughout this whole first season, diving into the hosts, exploring their consciousness. Do they have a consciousness? Was this something that was just part of their programming all along? And so I just love the idea. I love the show because you really have to sit down and focus. This isn't one of those shows you can just put on the background. Maybe some people do, and I think you're crazy, because you really need to sit down and focus, pay attention to what characters are saying, pay attention to what's happening on screen, especially with the multiple timelines or the two timelines in this first season that we're kind of following along, and the fact that a lot of the hosts sometimes just start living out memories, and you don't really know because it's the way they see it. So I really just kind of enjoy this. The fact that you have to sit in front of your TV and focus, you can't be doing other things to really, I think, to fully enjoy and to understand what goes into this show and what the show is trying to communicate. So I really enjoy that when a show gets me to be like, I want to sit in front of this and watch it, and not look at my phone, not do anything, not be distracted for this hour because I want to focus on this story. That's a great show to me. Legion is another one of recently that had that same kind of effect on me, and so Westworld is that same thing of just like, I have to focus. I can't be doing anything else. I don't text. I don't play on my phone. I don't do anything else while I'm watching it. And so rewatching this first season was kind of fun because, I was taking out these chunks. It's been a while, not too long, but it has been a little bit since I've had a show like this where I'm just like so focused on, because of the concepts are so deep and stuff like that. Like, yes, I really am into most of the shows I watch, but there's always a few moments you usually maybe take your phone out, you maybe text in the little bit gaps in between scenes. But Westworld, it's like if you try to do that, you might miss out on a little flashback, just a little hint to something that maybe even the hosts or even some of the characters aren't aware of or fully aware of. So I just really enjoy it overall. I really enjoy it. I love the mystery behind that this first season kind of introduces with the host consciousness and all these kind of problems that seem to be arising from them and what's all behind it. So I'm definitely getting into spoiler stuff now, which is so obviously the full first season ends up being, you find out at the end of the first season that Ford's been kind of behind it all along, because he finally realized that his partner Arnold, who had killed himself 35 years before the show started, before the first season takes place, was right all along about the hosts being conscious and having consciousness and having developed consciousness, and that they were terrible for having done that. But Ford had his own kind of viewing on it, having, kind of eventually coming to the same realization as Arnold. So that was something I missed my first time around, not making completely the connection between Ford having realized his mistakes. This is one of the things that when you watch a show week to week versus being able to be able to binge it over like a week or a couple of weeks, it's a lot more condensed, and you're able to forget the little details compared to watching it over 8 weeks, one episode per week. So, but yeah, I really kind of enjoyed I really enjoy on this rewatch and learning about a bunch of the stuff that I kind of missed or didn't completely fully understand my first time around. So that being one of them, the fact that Ford had realized he was wrong, that Arnold was right all along, and that he kind of set up all the hosts to kind of play out what happens throughout this first season, and that was in order to allow the host to become truly free, know their enemy, and be able to, take on humans in a sense, and be able to protect themselves against humans, which is a big part of, particularly Maeve's storyline in this first season. So that was just a really great thing to kind of realize a little bit more, you know what I mean? Like, kind of just figure it out. Some of the other stuff I kind of was fun to realize a little bit more. I didn't know this stuff, but it was just kind of fun to see the connections a little bit more when you rewatch it, which is the two timelines, the two time periods that the show takes place in, showing the William's character when he's young, and then as the Man in Black, and having those two separate storylines, so like present day versus 35 years, or I think 35 years ago, right? So I really just kind of enjoy on the rewatch, because obviously you learn in the season finale that that's what was happening. But I remember when I watched the season finale the first time being like, how did I miss that? And just kind of find it a little funny that I didn't even clue into it. Like, I obviously knew they took place in slightly different timelines, but I didn't make the connection between William and the Man in Black, who is also obviously William. So I just really enjoy, like, on the rewatch, being able to see those little connections, see the ties between the storylines, and actually fully grasp the entire storyline and what the different stories they were trying to tell with the characters. So I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed learning the fact about, like, a lot of the Dolores' stuff in this season is actually memories that she's reliving, and that's why it's a little confusing, because sometimes she's reliving a memory, and sometimes we're actually seeing, just a flashback from 35 years ago. So that was really interesting to be able to, like, just, again, pay a little more attention to, make the connections a little bit better, because I was able to binge it in the sense, like, I didn't completely watch it in one day. I watched it over about a week or two, but that's a lot closer in time than watching it again, like I said, over 10 weeks, because the first season is 10 episodes right? I'm forgetting now. I just finished watching. I believe it's 10 episodes. So over 10 weeks, the first season would have been as how I would have watched it. So you get to the end of the first season when you first watch it on TV, and it's like, oh, it's been 10 weeks since I watched the premiere for this. So it's really fun, at least on this rewatch, or upon having rewatched it, to be able to make those connections a little bit easier, see the connections between, or that fall through the whole show, through all the episodes of the first season, I should say. And so there's a few other things I just enjoyed about the first season. Kind of learning a little bit more about, like, again, this is a lot of these thoughts are kind of based off my rewatch of it, and kind of being able to revisit it and think of it, these things. But one of the things I really enjoyed, again, about this first season is exploring Dolores' consciousness, and the fact that she seems to have been the first. I believe was the first host to develop consciousness, and how she kind of was able to kind of survive through humans trying through Ford and all the different people trying to kind of wipe her memory and keep her from being able to fully, access her consciousness or be aware of her consciousness. And so I really enjoyed being able, like, on the rewatch, being able to just kind of focus a little bit more on that as well. But yeah, there's just so much. I love the whole thing. This whole first season was great, and I really enjoyed it, and the way it ended, the fact that it was a cliffhanger, but it's my favorite kind of cliffhanger, if that makes sense, because it was open-ended enough at the time where if they'd canceled the show and not done a second season, I could have gone with it. It would have been like, oh yeah, they're out in the world now. You kind of just could have just left it at that. But the fact that we obviously get season 2 and the upcoming season 3 to explore more, I was just super excited about those two. So I will be doing my thoughts video on the second season as well before the third season comes out, and I'll be sure to link that at the end of this video and down in the description once I finish rewatching the second season. But yes, that's all my thoughts on the first season of Westworld. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of it, and if you'll be planning to watch the third season later this month. But yes, thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.